After I had made my video from earlier today, where I had repaired that little TrueDar reach-in, now it's in a kitchen from a restaurant, I thought later, I really should have taken a little bit more time, kind of explained, you know, the troubleshooting, the thought process one goes through when one is diagnosing a particular piece of equipment. Now that particular one was in an active kitchen. There were, you can probably hear the ladies talking in the background there, so that was in a kitchen. And they were happy to get their little reach-in going, but I was kind of in their way, so that they wanted I wanted to get that pushback out of their way so they could get back with Operation Kitchen. And I thought I really kind of need to explain a little bit of the thought process one go through and when one is diagnosing, or nowadays we call that troubleshooting. I don't think that's a commonly used phrase today, but it's kind of the thought process one go through when one is trying to figure out what's wrong with a particular piece of equipment. Now, in that particular piece of equipment, now the first thing one wants to do is make sure it's getting power. It's a common problem like a trip breaker or blown fuse or something, where you're not getting power to a particular equipment. But this one, the display was on there, one of those solid state ones that it was actually the thermostat was actually calling for the device to be cooling, so that I knew it was getting power. Now the inside fan was running, and the condenser fan was running. The compressor was warm, so I took my amp meter, so I put on one of the leads going to the compressor, and the compressor was not drawing current. A real common problem on the newer fraction of horsepower equipment is that they use a little solid state starting capacitor. They're a real common problem. They're a real common source for problems. So I said, yeah, it's probably that little bad. It could have been a blown start capacitor, but more likely it was that little solid state starting relay. So I can get those solid state or not solid. I can get those aftermarket 3-in-1. You can get those things easy enough. Most parts places keep them. They're easy. They're easy to wire in there, and they're fairly straightforward. I've seen maybe one or two fail, but for the most part, they're pretty reliable. But anyway, so that's an easy fix, and that particular one it did fix. Now, another case, let's say the compressor's running and it's still not cooling. The next thing you want to check is make sure the box isn't iced up, because that is a common problem. The inside coil getting iced up. Another common problem is a leak. Where the refrigerant has leaked out. This particular box, uses a hydrocarbon refrigerant. That particular one was our R290, which is a flammable refrigerant. That being back in a working kitchen, I'd probably try, with lit burners for the stoves. That particular, if I was got to, fix, repair a leak in the system, I would probably try to wheel that thing outside, to vent any remaining refrigerant, because I don't care to end up in a fireball, because that's what you can do if you need to exercise a little bit of common sense, which I'm going to get to here. Now, I want to assume that anybody's doing any work on a particular device is going to exercise a little bit of common sense. Now, I'm not responsible for your knowledge or lack thereof. I'm not responsible for your common sense or lack thereof. Now, that I've been doing this all my life since as a kid. But it's easy to get in trouble if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, or if you're uncomfortable working with high voltage electricity, energized circuits, don't know where not to put your fingers, you're probably better off not to being a temporary repair staff. If you do have a little bit of electrical knowledge, if anybody wants me to do some DIY videos, let me know. If anybody wants to work with me, where we're doing DIY videos covering stuff like this, where I'm holding the camera and you're commenting on it, or you're holding the camera and tell me, well, this is what we'd like you to cover. Yeah, I can do that. But again, I'm gonna give a disclaimer. I'm not responsible for your abilities or knowledge or whatever, or lack thereof. Okay, let's all stay alive. Let's all keep out of trouble. If you want some diagnostic advice, I'll be happy to give it where I can. Okay. Love y'all. Let's keep life interesting and exciting, and let's all stay alive and healthy and happy and all that. Okay, bye-bye.